Let's go, Rams fans. That was such a fun win for the Los Angeles Rams. We finally got the blowout win that a lot of us were knowing that the Rams were capable of achieving. What a fun game this was in London against a good Jaguars team who made a lot of mistakes, to be fair. A lot of drops, a lot of penalties, a lot of the scenarios where they're just kind of shooting themselves in the foot. And the Rams took advantage of it. This is the kind of team that us Rams fans expected coming into the year with Super Bowl expectations. Even missing a guy in Puka Nacua, we had these kinds of expectations to have games like this on the offensive side of the ball. Stafford throwing 5 touchdowns, Devontae catching 3 touchdowns, the defense balling out, holding the Jaguars to 7 points. Like, this is what we knew that they were capable of. It's obviously one game, but it's a game where you get a big win heading into the bye week against a good AFC team, against a team that has familiarity with the Rams. Of course, Liam Cohen, we knew that storyline. And I just loved this game for the Los Angeles Rams because I feel like the Rams, everybody was talking about Puka Nacua. He's going to miss this game. It's panic time. We're not going to know what to do. Everybody's looking at it in such a bad light. And Puka is an amazing player, no doubt about it. But for me, I was looking at it like this is going to be our chance to first off get that Devontae Adams chemistry established with Stafford and Adams. We've seen the flashes, but we haven't seen a game plan where Devontae Adams is the highlight guy. And man, did we see that today. 3 touchdowns from Devontae Adams. We saw targets being spread everywhere. It wasn't just to one guy. Like, we saw first drive, 7 targets to 7 different guys. And we were spreading the ball around, whether it be Konate Mumfield, the rookie, getting his first touchdown on the first drive, whether it be Colby Parkinson, Tyler Higbee, and then shout out Terrence Ferguson getting his first touchdown down. And it's just like, it was so fun for me to be able to see this team be able to go in a game without their best player and prove what we all thought was right with the wide receiver depth that they have, with the talent that they have, that they can still go by, put up 35 points on a Jaguars defense without Puka Nacua in London when they traveled to London just yesterday, basically. And I'm just so proud of this team just to be able to see them come out with the win, a complete team win. You really only saw struggles coming in that second half when the Rams were like first few drives, they were kind of trying to get it figured out a little bit. But then after that, they clicked it into place, got another 2 touchdowns. And it was just, I just had so much fun watching this game. It was so fun to see the potential we all knew they had come into fruition with this kind of performance. I just, again, talking about that Rams offense, like, I just loved seeing how many different guys we got involved in this offensive game plan that we had coming into it. Like Stafford, we all knew MVP caliber player. He should be in the MVP race, puts up 5 touchdowns, and the amount of different guys he got involved on this offense. The game plan was just so clean by the Rams. And I had so much fun watching it. You just really got to see the utilization of all different kinds of players. I think coming into this, I thought Jordan Whittington would have a big game, maybe Tutu Atwell, but it was really a bunch of different guys. And I was surprised to see the Rams utilized every single one of their tight ends with a target in the first 2 drives, like every single one. And then you saw them involving the receivers. You saw the running backs catching the balls out of the backfield. Like, this was just an ideal game for the Los Angeles Rams. Defensively, you saw them playing really well as well. The Jaguars shot themselves in the foot a lot of the times, dropped balls, penalties, what have you. But the Rams made the plays when they needed to make the plays. They locked up on a bunch of 4th downs that the Jaguars attempted, got the stops there. From the first play of the game, Jared Verse getting the sack on Trevor Lawrence, I think really set the tone here. You had Darius Williams playing his former team in the Jaguars, who was getting pass breakups left, right, and center. You had Quentin Lake getting a sack off the edge, Josiah Stewart, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. Like, it was a complete team win. And it's so refreshing to be able to see this, to take this momentum going into the bye week. And you're 5-2 as the Los Angeles Rams going into the bye week, getting ready to gear up for your NFC slate on the back half of the season, coming off such a momentous win here in such a clean win. And this is all what we knew they were capable of. We saw them making a bunch of mistakes earlier in the year in games that they would win or they would lose. And you're like, man, I just know there's so much more for this team. And then they hang up 35 points on the Jaguars defense without Puka Nacua. They hold the Jaguars offense to 7 total points with an offense featuring Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Etienne. Just what a statement win. I could not be more proud of this team, and no better way to go into a bye week than what a win we had here. Like, it was just so much fun. I don't know if you guys were with me when Devontae Adams had those 3 touchdowns. Like, I'm just so happy for him because we've seen him have his moments with the Rams, but we've also seen some shortcomings from, the connection just not quite being there from training camp. To have the 3 touchdowns there, just what a statement. We all know the impact he's made. And this really, when you even just look at the box score, his impact was felt. I just loved Rams defense. They were attacking from the first play, as I mentioned. Jared Verse getting the sack on Trevor Lawrence really set the tone. They were attacking. They were aggressive. I feel like even when they did like little dump off plays, the Jaguars did, the Rams were all over it, getting the tackles. Like, it was just a complete win, and I couldn't be happier. I'm just blown away by this Rams team. What a performance! I predicted 24-21, and the Rams went 35-7 in London, traveling yesterday there. Like, it was crazy. When you take a look at some of the box score kind of stats here in the game, total yards, the Rams were outgained 271-358. Passing yards, they were also outgained 182-264. Rushing yards also outgained 89-94. Yards per play also outgained 4.4-4.8. But the Rams had first downs, one there at 25 to the Jaguars 21. They were surprisingly 2 for 10 on third downs, and Jaguars were 3 for 15. Rams were for 2 for 2 on fourth downs, one of those being the touchdown to Terrence Ferguson. That was so fun. Jaguars really struggled here, 2 for 6 on fourth down. That's really where you saw them struggling. Jaguars had 74 plays to the Rams, 62. Jaguars got sacked 7 times. Rams got sacked 0 times. That was really fun to see. I think the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, he got sacked 7 times last week against the Seahawks. The Rams duplicated that this week, and that was fun. 5 punts for both teams. Penalties, Rams 5 for 45. Jaguars 13 for 119 yards. That was a big separator there. And then Rams one-time possession, 31 minutes to the Jaguars 28. So just a complete team win. I couldn't be happier with this team. I keep on sounding like a broken record, but like, just you know that this is capable, but to actually see it play out the way it did and to get the win the way that the Rams did, going to the bye week at 5-2, this is a huge momentum builder, and this is something that can definitely carry over into the season. And I just loved, again, seeing all the different weapons being used on this offense, and I loved seeing Stafford have a 5-touchdown game, first time in London that happened. Like, there's just so much you can take away from this. I'm so happy for Konate Mumfield, 7th round pick for the Rams. In the first drive, getting a touchdown. That was a great route there. And Terrence Ferguson, everybody's been asking about him. They're saying, is he a bust? Why did we pick this guy? He gets the deep touchdown, and he almost had another touchdown on that last drive that ended up being a pass interference call there. And there's just so much you can take away from it. I feel like some standout players here for the Rams, and I'll get to your comments in a second, by the way. Thanks to everybody who's here. I feel like some standout players for the Rams. Got to start it with the obvious, Matthew Stafford. 5 touchdowns, unbelievable. 5 touchdowns. Like, this guy, we heard about the fact that he could be leaving the offseason with the contract disputes and all of that, but 5 touchdowns, to be able to come out of that and play at the MVP level that he's been playing at all year. Devontae Adams, this is his breakout game as a Ram. Whether the yards show it or not, he had 3 touchdowns. Jared Verse, he had the sack to open the game. Jared Verse was tenacious. He was a disruptor all game. You felt his presence, as Sean McVay likes to say. Honorable mention, Konate Mumfield and Terrence Ferguson, 2 rookies making a big impact on this Rams game plan, getting 2 touchdowns. Ferguson almost had 2 himself. So that's an honorable mention. Darius Williams playing his former team. I feel like he had pass breakups left, right, and center. And I feel like the last couple weeks for Darius Williams, from the Ravens game to this game, you're really seeing him kind of hit his stride with the Rams again, because he wasn't playing all that well coming into like last couple of games. The whole year for the Rams, Darius Williams wasn't really looking like himself. I feel like the last 2 games he's played really well. Kobe Turner, another honorable mention here. He had 2 big swats. One of them was on third down for the Rams. He was just making his impact felt. I feel like Kobe Turner, his numbers don't show up in the box score, but you feel him and you feel the impact he's making. And a lot of the times he's kind of setting the table for other guys. So want to shout out Kobe Turner, because those 2 pass breakups were huge earlier on in the game, one being on a third down, really giving the Rams momentum. And another guy to shout out, honorable mention, Quentin Lake. He had a sack off the edge, which we saw. He almost had a pick 6 when he blitzed off the edge and kind of read out that screen. Just couldn't hold on to the ball, but I felt like Quentin Lake deserved an honorable mention too. Let me know what your standout players are. Those are kind of my thoughts on this game. Let me get into your comments here. Thanks everybody who's in here. He says, who's flat? Rams flat? Yeah, no, the Rams did not come out flat today. That was, I mean, we've seen all year the Rams offense comes out flat, starts slow. And I feel like that's been the reason a lot of the games are close or that they've just barely lost it. To me, the key to this Rams team, just start fast. The team that you have in the way that you've constructed it is a team that is a hungry defense, that is a tenacious pass rush, that if you get a lead early, I mean, good luck to the other offense because they're just going to tee off, get going, and they kind of build off the momentum that the Rams offense sets. And I think we saw that here today. The Rams offense started very fast. They had obviously had 21 points in the first half. First two drives were touchdowns for the Rams, and that really set the table. And then the Rams defense just matching that with getting those stops. And then that's where this Rams team can really become dangerous. If they don't start flat on offense, I really see this team being close to unbeatable. And that obviously health permitted, but I just think you really can see a flash into if they get this offense established early on, which they did without Puka Nacua. I mean, the sky's the limit for this team, to be honest. Jared Ramirez, thanks for coming in. He said, I woke up 6 a.m. on time, and 4 hours later, here we go. Wow. Wasn't that crazy? I mean, this is a game worth waking up for. I feel bad for some of the people that accidentally slept in because they missed a dang good Rams game for sure. Deuce Falco, thanks for coming in. He said Rams won against all AFC opponents, and we also swept the AFC South for what it's worth. It's going to be very interesting to see after the Rams bye week. We're going to be heading into our NFC gauntlet. Every other team from here on out is going to be in the NFC. Those are big games, obviously, for playoff implications, for seeding. So, yeah, we did great against our AFC opponents. Now it's time to lock in against NFC after the bye week, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. Travis Hunter also got his first touchdown too. He did. I kind of selfishly, like as a greedy like Rams fan, I was hoping the Rams would keep him at 0 points. Like that would have just been crazy. But for a guy, I'm in Colorado, so I saw a lot of Travis Hunter when he was in college. To see him get that touchdown, I was happy for him. But I was like, man, I wish the Rams could have kept it 35-0, just for like just pure optics, really, nothing else. Deuce Falco, finally a stress-free game. I know, right? Like this is what we've been waiting for. I like close games when you get close wins. Those ones are fun. I feel like they're exhilarating, but there's nothing better than a stress-free big win when your team is just dominating. Like we've had a lot of stressful games as the Rams fans this year, and the games we've won and the games we've lost. To have a stress-free game, I couldn't be happier, man. Rob, thanks for stopping in. He says, what a game, Ramley. 5 touchdowns and pretty stout defense. Couldn't have said it better myself, man. Matthew Stafford, he is balling out. Actually, let's take a look at Matthew Stafford's stats on the season because this guy I feel like really should be considered for MVP, and like a lot of us Rams fans have thought that this year. So let's see. It says he has 12 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, almost 1,700 yards, and I don't believe that that's actually updated here. Yeah, that's not updated. So he's got 17 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, and he's probably close to 2,000 yards at this point. So Matthew Stafford, we all know the talent he has. We all know when the Rams traded for him, like this is an impact play. This is a big player for the team. So glad he didn't leave in the offseason. But like, I think as Rams fans, we always knew he had this MVP caliber play in him. But in the years past with the Rams, I feel like a lot of his touchdowns would kind of be vultured by Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is a great running back, obviously, but that takes a bunch of touchdowns off the stat sheet for Stafford. And when you talk about MVPs, a lot of times they want those touchdowns to be in there. So Stafford to be at 17 through the first 7 weeks of the season, like that's a great start here. GP Shadow, thanks for coming in, man. I haven't seen you in a while. It says Devontae has arrived with the ... I'm so excited. And like 3 touchdowns, so happy for him. Like there's been a lot of, and I'm going to actually have a video on this later in the week, but there's been a lot of moments with Devontae where it's like, man, he was open and Stafford missed him. Or man, Devontae, great route, but you dropped the ball. And all those things where there's like a lot of hidden yardage. He gets a lot of pass interference calls, defensive holding calls for the Rams. But this week you really saw his impact in the stat sheet as well. And that one-handed touchdown in the back of the end zone, like that was just unbelievable, man. I'm so happy. Go Rams indeed. Deuce Falco, for 2 weeks, Rams fans don't have to worry. I couldn't be happier about that. And guys, we get to dwell on this win for 2 whole weeks. This juicy 35-7 win, like no complaints here. Rob says 7:30 kickoff for me, but well worth missing a little morning snooze. Yeah, actually, Rob, I don't know where you live, but same for me. 7:30 kickoff here in Colorado. Not actually too bad. And to be done with the Rams game by like 11 o'clock, be able to enjoy the rest of the day on this win, no complaints here. No complaints here. Deuce Falco says Stafford breaking records in back-to-back games. We love Stafford, man. I no complaints about Stafford. He is such a dog. I love having him on our team, man. Thanks for coming in. I wish I could pronounce your name. I'm not the best with pronouncing like complicated names, so I wish I could pronounce your name, but he said should be 7-0. 49ers and Eagles losses were inexcusable. And this is the thing. I told you guys to kind of tease at it earlier. I think like I'm gonna have a video out on this on how the Rams could be 7-0 and a lot of the mistakes they've made in past games and how if they clean those ones up, like sky's really the limit. I agree with you though. Like Eagles game, you had 2 field goals blocked that could have won the game, and you let the Eagles back in, which is crazy after being up 26-7. 49ers game, you had so many chances to win in overtime there. Just a weird call in my mind. And then obviously fumbling Kyren Williams, the fumble, we lost the 49ers. So definitely can make the argument the Rams should be 7-0. And if they continue to play like this the rest of the stretch, like those 2 losses are going to hurt maybe for seeding. I don't know. But I just have a tough time seeing teams be able to stop the Rams if they continue this kind of performance up and if obviously health permits too. Rob says, liked how the ball was spread around. Would have liked a little more outside run game, though. Jags were stout in the middle. I agree with you. Obviously, in a win like this, the things that you nitpick are going to be these tiny, like, minor details. And that's the best place to be rather than being like, man, I wish we would have done this or we would have won. But I feel like all year for the Rams, their best runs have come on the outside zone kind of plays, which is kind of different from the last couple of years for the Rams. And every time they ran it inside zone up the gut, I agree with you. It felt like the Jags kind of had that snuffed out. But the Rams really kind of leaned into their passing game this game, and rightfully so. I think the Jaguars were like 30th in yards allowed in the air. So I think the Rams had an intentional effort to attack through the air, and especially getting tight ends involved. We saw that early on. The Rams really stressed that. Maybe McVay knew something about Liam Cohen there and the defense. I don't know. But for the Rams, rush attempts on the day, they had 12 for 54 from Kyren and 12 for 37. So an even split with Blake Corum and Kyren Williams. So 24 attempts on the day, not a crazy amount. Obviously the split reps there, but I definitely agree. Outside zone is kind of where we are at our, like, we find the bread and butter for this team. But I really feel like the Rams knew like their success was going to come through the passing game, and boy, did it. Carolina May, thanks for coming in. She says 10 different receivers. Only a few games in NFL history or in history of the NFL have had 10 different receivers. No Puka, no problem. We showed the world we can be a great team even without Puka. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for that comment there. Yeah, 10 different receivers. Like, I understand the logic that the Rams a lot of the time stick to of you have Devontae Adams, you have Puka Nacua, force feed them, they're automatic. I understand that, but at the same time, I think spreading the wealth, as you said, is always going to be a really good game plan, just because the defenses can't like focus in on one guy, and they can't just kind of dial in on this one guy and try to take him away and kind of ruin your game plan. So I definitely think, to your point, getting all the eligibles involved in there stresses the defense, and then they aren't keyed in on, for this game, just Devontae Adams, and then you forget Devontae Adams is on this team because we're spreading it around. I think it's such a big key for any team is to be able to spread the ball around. I think when Puka comes back, we're still going to be seeing a big target share go to Puka. But I think Sean McVay should learn something from this game of the fact of getting everybody involved, how fluid you can look on offense. When you have a Puka Nacua come back, you can have him as like the main guy still, but you don't have to give him like 20 targets a game. Like, as much as we love seeing Puka Nacua getting all of those, I think spreading the ball around is always going to help your team out. Rob says, haha, I live in north central Montana, splitting distance from U.S.-Canadian border. Been a fan since 69. Well, thanks for coming in, Rob. Yeah, so that makes sense, actually, how you were able to watch it at 7:30. I mean, like, London games, they're obviously hard to wake up for sometimes, but today I popped up awake, like, excited, and I didn't have that feeling like, I don't want to wake up today, because it was for a Rams game. And again, to get our win, to be able to enjoy this 35-7 win for the rest of the day, to be able to think about all the great plays that we had today, all the big players that stood out. just enjoy that the rest of the day, enjoy it the rest of this week, and then we get a whole nother week to enjoy it after that. 5-2. Hopefully we get the NFC West to be able to drop some games today. I'm going to actually take a look at here the NFL schedule for the day, because the NFC West, if we can get them to drop some games, obviously the Bucs came in clutch last week. They were able to beat the 49ers, which helped us out there. Cardinals are playing the Packers today. I think the Packers should be able to win that game theoretically, although Packers are kind of hard to predict at times. 49ers playing the Falcons. That's interesting because the Rams obviously have the Falcons first round pick, so we want them to lose for that. But I think it's more important in season for the 49ers to lose. So I could see the Falcons pulling that off. They just beat the Bills. We'll see what ends up happening there. And tomorrow, Seahawks will play the Texans. I expect them to beat the Texans, but you never know. So Rams have an opportunity to be able to get to first place in the division. Hopefully some other NFL teams help us out by giving the NFC West some losses. Because the Rams, it's crazy the fact that they're 5-2, but you got the Seahawks who only have 2 losses. You got the 49ers who only have 2 losses. So it's a tough NFC West. You got to continue to win games. The Rams did that today and couldn't be happier, man. GP Shadow, the offense was so much fun today. I couldn't agree more. This is the kind of thing a lot of Rams fans were clamoring for, especially in their wins that they're having, whereas man, I know that they won, but there's so much on the table. There's so many points that were left on the table. The Rams are better than this. We have Sean McVay, we have Devontae Adams, we have Puka Nacua, we have Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams. How are we not putting up this many points? This game, you really saw all come together, ironically, without Puka Nacua, but I kind of think that almost helped the offense a little bit in a sense. And so offense was a blast to watch. It was just every drive you're seeing these highlight plays, and there was never a moment in the game where you're like, man, I'm on the edge of my seat. I think the Rams might lose this. It was just complete domination for the Rams offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, kind of giving a preview and a hint into what they can do as the year goes on. So definitely can't complain about that. Rob, the use of 2 to 3 tight end sets would also give Puka a breather during the game. I agree, and thanks for pointing this out. They actually pointed out in the broadcast the Rams were running a bunch of 13 personnel. For a lot of you guys who may not know that, 13 personnel features 3 tight ends. And so the Rams were doing that a lot today with Colby Parkinson, Tyler Higbee, and Terrence Ferguson. And I agree with you. That can definitely give Puka breathers. I also think Jordan Whittington as a receiver is a good option to be able to give Puka a breather because they're kind of similar in skill set. Obviously, Whittington isn't to the level of Puka, but he still does a lot of similar things. So that's kind of something I talked about coming into this year that I really liked about this Rams team, the way they built it, is their offense and the way that they built it personnel wise was you can feature a bunch of different kind of personnel, whether it's 11, 11 and a half, 12, 13, 21, 22. The Rams have so many different kinds of options to be able to mix up the front personnel wise and also just the formation that they can do. And we've seen the Rams be able to mix that up a lot. And I think that really can play into the Rams' hand as the season goes on. You play a bunch of different kinds of opponents, and they're going to have their own identities and ways and strengths and things like that. And the Rams can find different ways to be able to attack those teams because they can change the personnel so fluently with all the different kinds of options that they have, from going 11, 12, 13, 21, 22. There's so many different options to where you can really pick and choose what you want to do any given week against an opponent. And this week, it felt like the Rams really leaned into that 13 personnel. And again, maybe they knew against the Jaguars that Jaguars struggle with tight ends because they really featured those early on. And then that kind of set up things for Devontae Adams and Konate Mumpfield. And obviously Ferguson got involved there late with that deep touchdown, almost had 2. There's just so many different ways the Rams can beat you. And it's really cool to be able to see them kind of utilize different varieties of personnel each week to be able to win games. And hopefully we continue to see them mix it up because, as we talked about with getting a bunch of different wide receivers involved in the offense and how much that can really help an offense out, you can also really confuse the defense and stress the defense out if you're changing personnels all the time because they got to match it with their base defense or with nickel, whatever it is. And then you can really exploit things, especially when you have a guy like Sean McVay. So couldn't be happier about that. And I just really loved to be able to see that. As far as what's next for this Rams team, they're going into the bye week 5-2. Couldn't complain about that. And they are going to be coming out of the bye week playing the New Orleans Saints. We'll see if Puka plays that game or not. I feel pretty good about that game. And you got a huge gauntlet of NFC teams, a bunch of divisional games. So I think for the Rams here, this is a chance going into the bye week to regroup. You're 5-2. You've done a bunch of really good things well. And on the season in totality, you've done a lot of things kind of bad and things that you've messed up. You've been able to get some wins and even unfortunately drop some losses. So I think heading into this bye week at 5-2, you obviously hope the NFC West are going to drop some games this week, and that's what we're all hoping for. I think the Rams going into this bye week are going to be able to look at what they did here with getting a bunch of different personnel involved, a bunch of different receivers and tight ends, what have you. They'll look at that, and I think they're going to try to do that more. That's at least the hope. I still think Puka is going to get peppered with targets left, right, and center, but I do think that the Rams are going to adjust a little bit, get more personnel used after the bye week. I think they're also going to just look themselves in the face and see, like somebody was mentioning in the comments earlier, the Rams really could be 7-0 to this point in the season had they not done a lot of their own self-inflicted wounds. But they had those. You get those 2 losses. This bye week provides an opportunity to celebrate the win, but also reflect on the ways the Rams have come up short in the season. And they could really come out strong here in the back half of the season, which is when you're supposed to really catch fire. And so I think the Rams are in a good spot right now. It's not like we're stuck in a hole with like 4 losses more than wins like we were in years past having to dig out. Being 5-2 is great. NFC West is competitive, so you hope they lose some games today. But that's really all my thoughts on the game today. I appreciate everybody who's in the comments here, everybody who's able to participate. You guys make this what it is. You guys are such great supporters of the channel. Like I really do appreciate it. Just to have a platform for me to be able to come out and talk Rams is a dream opportunity, and you guys always make it so much more fun. You point out things I miss, and you guys are just the best. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this Sunday, this 5-2 Rams 35-7 victory over the Jaguars. Enjoy this one. Enjoy the week. Be on the lookout for a video this week, maybe 2 videos. We'll see. I won't have a game preview this week because it's the bye week, but I have a very fascinating video that I've spent a lot of time on. So expect that to be posted somewhere around midweek. And then Wednesday night, Peo and I are going to be moving the show First Down Rams to Wednesday night. So if you guys want to check that out, that'll be 6 p.m. California time, I believe. So that's going to be about it for today. But thank you guys all for stopping in. You guys have a great one. Horns up and God bless.